trade professionals. We're back with another Simply Trade news roundup, coming to you with some awesome, maybe not so awesome news, however you want to take it. My mom will be listening to this episode. By the way, she listens to it when she drives to work, which I think that's what people do. That's what I see people doing, right? And she called me and she goes, we FaceTime every day, and she'll be saying like, oh, I watched your episode, and I never think she does, but she did, because she goes, Annik, first of all, you did pronounce Maersk right, but second of all, it's not German. It's Danish. And I'm like, wow. She's like, she's fact checking.
That's
yeah, and she's a smart
awesome.
lady. So I was like, wow, okay, Mom, thanks. I will bring that up next time, that it's not even German. And we were here talking that Maersk is German. It's not. It's like Scandinavian region, which maybe that's why I mispronounced it, because we would have put an A with two dots in Germany, but whatever. And today is actually a very special episode, and maybe it is all the time a special episode, but today extra special because we have a guest jumping in for Lalo. We have Renee back on the podcast. I don't think I have to introduce her again because she's been on here a couple of times now. I would just say she's part of the team. Okay. Hi, Renee. How are you?
Hi. Good morning. Good afternoon. Thank you.
Good morning. And then
I'm part of the team.
Yes. Woo. And then obviously you guys know him, the man with the man with the cowboy hat. You guys want to guess? Okay, were you right? It's Andy. Whoever was wrong.
It looks like the south end of a northbound mule. Okay. Good morning, everybody.
Good morning. Whoever was wrong needs to go back and listen to some episode, maybe watch some of them, because you're clearly not caught up at all. But again, we're here for the news, and we have some fun updates for you. So I wanted to start this episode, especially this one, with some CBP updates, because the Customs and Border Protection, CBP, has selected 5 entities to partner with to develop accreditation standards and implement the accreditation process for the Licensed Customs Broker Continuing Education, CE, program. So this is very special, and especially for Global Training Center. We train people in their professions, right? And it's very necessary. And CBP has a big step coming now. So I think Renee wants to touch on it. Andy can touch on it, just so we can give a little update on that and what it means, and what it means for Global Training Center too, and where we stand. So Renee, you want to start off?
Sure. Just to follow what you're saying, is I think this new requirement is going to maintain our high level of professionalism and knowledge. Before, we obviously did training, but now we're going to be required to. So we're looking forward to increasing our knowledge and having it be more current. So I'm looking forward to that. And of course, Global Training Center has a strong relationship with 3 of the 5 accredited partners with CBP. So we are certain and confident that our classes are going to be accredited, and we're looking forward to helping everybody maintain their requirements with this new regulation. The other thing too is CBP, and I know there's a page, I think it's a CE web page, continuing ed web page under CBP's URL, where you can find updates. Any classes you've taken so far in 2024 actually are not going to be counted, because it won't count until CBP actually claims the start date. So keep that in mind. And then look for these updates on the CSMS messages or Federal Register or their webpage. So, and keep GTC in mind for your continuing education.
100%. And we work closely with them. I know we talk a lot in our meetings about it. So we will update you whenever, this is finalized, I guess. Andy, you want to speak on it a little bit too?
Just keep in mind, there's a lot of phenomenal courses. It's a cost-effective means of doing it. GTC has been out there for a while and is staying up to date on the different courses that the Brokers Association is certified to say it'll be all right, along with customs. Saying all that is just, look at it, look at your menu. I'm one that am a big proponent of making sure your staff becomes proficient in key things, and the Global Training Center is a good way to do it. But the other thing is, keep in mind too, this has been talked about for years as far as CBP trying to require for licensed brokers. But even if you're not licensed, get yourself up to speed on some of these courses, and it'll make it easier if you ever decide to take the test, where you have a good understanding of not only the issues and the topics and the regulations, but here's the other thing: you'll become much more effective in your current position.
Yeah, thank you guys. And as so that was the first news update, kind of. We didn't include it in the news, but we have 3 more articles, two basically to really talk on. And the last one is a little bit of what's to come next week. So let's start with the first one. We have the impact of sanctions on maritime safety. So this, I haven't heard of it before. Sanctions imposed on Russian shipping groups express disappointment that safety is being compromised for short-term geopolitical gains, particularly in European waters. The exit of international service companies and safety certifiers due to sanctions has created challenges for the Russian fleet. So the presence of aging and unregulated tankers in the shadow fleet transporting oil from sanctioned countries raises safety concerns. And I think that's been kind of in the talks for a while, right? There seems to be safety concerns on a lot of levels anyways.
Well, I'll just say this. All right. So folks, this is one of those things. Your main takeaway here is, again, there's more people that have been added to the sanction list, if you will. And so it's the denied party screening. And as you're doing business, this is one that you really need to look at and make sure that you're not doing business with these particular folks. Now, here's where it's going to come into in this particular article. What's been added? These have been added to the U.S. list, but the European Union has added them now just recently. So here's the deal: the CEO of the Russian tanker fleet is the one claiming, is like, all right, this is causing problems. It's, safety concern is what they're saying. In reality, what's happened is these sanctions now, you're wondering if it really helps. What this is doing is it has now limited this particular tanker company as far as their commercial capabilities. Now, this particular fleet has also been considered what's called a shadow fleet. That means that they have been picking up and transporting oil from Russia, from Iran, from Venezuela, and different places that are sanctioned areas. They turn off their GPS transponders, so they're not showing their locations and all that, moving the oil around. And this is the allegation on this. And that then they transload that to a legitimate ship type thing and trying to move that oil and claim it's a different origin than where it came from. So they have been sanctioned. Now, here's where it's going to come into play. The CEO has already said he's got an aging fleet. To move your fleet, if you are in the industry, not necessarily petroleum, moving petroleum, although that would be one of the things, but if you are selling or providing services or parts and thereof to ships and marine, generators and lights and the things, the ropes and the chains and all the stuff that goes on in maintaining a ship, they're going to be reaching out trying to say, we need, these parts. That's where you're going to need to look at. And if you're in those industries, you need to make sure that you are checking your denied party screening or have it up to date and checking it against your customer list.
Or Andy, aren't they also these sanctions the companies that make engines that do safety certification, it seems like they're going out of business or something. Is that an issue too with the, keeping the ship secure and safe? If they don't have the business to stay in business.
Oh, yeah, they're going to have to dock them.
So yeah, I like this article too. There is a lot of variables that come with it, I guess. But moving on to the cybersecurity article, and this one I really like because the Department of Energy has released a new framework outlining the best practices for securing clean energy cyber supply chains, basically focusing on technologies used in managing electricity, oil, and natural gas systems. These guidelines include 10 best practices for suppliers and 10 for consumers. Basically emphasizing the risk management and transparency. This is coming because there's increased efforts in manufacturing cybersecurity, which were also discussed at the G7 summit, by the way. And so to me, that sounds really good because I feel like we always need, frameworks, but I don't know. That's my take. It's good to have a framework outlined so people know what to do and how they can stay focused on having secure supply chains. But do you guys want to go into that? And if this is like, in a positive light, or what could be done better? Or is there another way to kind of go around this? Is this total BS? What's your stand?
Looked at the supply chain cybersecurity principles for suppliers and consumers. And I would recommend that's one of our actionable items. Take away, look at that. They give you the 10 framework, cybersecurity fundamentals, secure development and implementation. So there's a lot of great information in that principle that they've outlined for both suppliers and consumers.
The cybersecurity fight is never ending, constantly going. And you got to, constantly look at it. So your IT department is the one that's usually the folks that are reviewing this. And so again, in this particular case, this article, take a look and have your IT people look at it specifically, whether you're in the energy industry or not. Maybe there'll be something in there that'll be, a new revelation for them, whatever. That's one thing. The other thing though, is you've got to make a concerted effort. And this is where your IT department does come into play, but it takes a collaborative effort of the other departments. While you will have other vendors in your company that do all kinds of different things, that you're entering into some kind of usually a financial transaction, case in point, an ACH payment. So your accounts payable, your accounts receivable, those kinds of things. If you have that kind of transaction, which 99% I think of companies do, even if you're doing the Square, if you're a small company and you're using the Square and using a credit card, and then that's uploading and all to your own systems, you got to make sure that you have the appropriate cyber security safeguards. Folks, use common sense on your cyber security.
Common sense is not given. It's not a given for some people.
Well, all I can tell you is there are some things that are listed out there. Get your IT department to review this, because a lot of times I can look at it and go, all right, I can understand part of this, but some of it's Greek to me. Hey, just have your IT department review, and that should be part of your audits in your supply chain, in your compliance and all that. Are we showing due diligence, and are we protected against a cyber attack? That's one thing. Second thing, what if you are attacked and whatever? How do you isolate that? You should go through certain exercises on that. So again, another takeaway on that.
I have a couple too. So that's doing like an IT incident response plan. We had some significant and then there's another acronym, CSRM, which is similar, I think, to CTPAT, Cyber Supply Chain Risk Management. So are you doing analysis on your suppliers? Are you diversifying your suppliers? Do you have supplier performance monitoring tools, right? And analysis. Very similar to the CTPAT program, but I think those are all great takeaways for our audience too. And to your point, our trade folks may not be cybersecurity experts, but, develop a team, a council or a task force on cybersecurity.
These cyber bullies, if you will, out there, cyber attackers are pretty slick. Just stop and think about it this way. You don't want to be the person that your email or your system or whatever was compromised that caused a major cyber problem within your company, do you?
At Raytheon, we had on our email, you could report it right at the banner. They had an option and they put something in the banner, which was awesome. So if you were looking and you found something a little suspect, you could immediately press that button, report it, and it would take it away. So
and it would isolate it.
Isolate it. Yeah, that was awesome. And I mean, this happens so easily to people personally. I was trying to sign up for something recently. It took me to another site. I didn't know it. And I started trying to fill out the application or form. And guess what? It was a bogus site. Boom. I had to cancel my credit card.
Wow. See, yeah, I think cybersecurity is super important in any way, shape, or form, especially, when it deals with logistics. When it deals with your personal life, you probably also make sure you have the dual sign up thing.
Multi-factor.
Yeah, multi-factor sign up. Do all of those things, that'll definitely help. And then, I don't know, it's just, you said common sense, but it's really not common sense because there's a lot, there's to it. Anyways, thank you for that. I think this was super informational. And again, we have those articles listed on our Global Training Center, also on Simply Trade podcast on our LinkedIn's. I want to go over the last article real quick. We don't really necessarily will talk about this one because it's kind of a general one. Basically, we all know what's coming up next week. 4th of July, Independence Day for the United States, right? Super fun. I actually have a really, really cool fun fact. I didn't know this, blew my mind. But so the China supplies approximately 90% of the fireworks purchased in the United States. The manufacturing process dates back over 2,000 years using sulfur, charcoal, and potassium nitrate. There's strict safety measures govern the storage, transportation, and sale of fireworks. So I bet this is a kind of a crazy process because, it's highly flammable. And you have to transport it from China to the United States. That's a crazy process. I bet you have to have a lot of education for that, aka come to Global Training Center. We'll get you educated if you're not. And also the weather. That's so crazy because there has to be some kind. That's what the article says, because the weather can influence whether the ship can go out with those fireworks or not. And we don't have much time to discuss it, but was there anything that stuck out to you guys, or do you know anything that's added to this article?
I have one thing. I like the fact that they talked about drone light shows because my dogs are wrecked. My dogs are wrecked during fireworks.
Oh my
Although
God,
fortunately
it's so sad.
out in California, they're so highly regulated. We can't even do a sparkler out here because we're in the middle of fire season. So she doesn't have to deal with it as much, but I like the drone light show.
Yeah, it's crazy where it's so hot.
Well, the drones are phenomenal and all that. And interesting that, great shows, but then they're using speakers for the bang kind of thing to simulate the fireworks, but they're great. When you look at it, there's a lot of those components that are made in China. So China seems to get it for both the fireworks and for the drones themselves. But, again, that's 90%. That was a shocking 90% of fireworks that are supplied to the U.S. are from China. So
yeah,
something to give some thought to.
It's amazing.
So let's have some good relations to China, because otherwise we won't get any fireworks. But I don't know if that's actually a bad thing.
Yeah, that's probably true.
The dogs might like it.
And we were talking about the 4th of July, which is obviously the Independence Day for the U.S., declaring its independence from England. July 1st is Canada Day. So to our Canadian listeners, that's the official day that Canada became a country, I guess, in this establishment. And so July 1st is Canada Day and a big holiday for Canada as well. So happy Canada Day to our Canadian listeners. Happy 4th of July to our U.S. listeners.
Yeah, for 4th of July week. And therefore, I have a really fun fact. So the World Trade Center in New York is 1,776 feet tall to mark the year of the U.S. when the U.S. declared its independence from Britain.
Wow.
Did you know
That's
that?
Cool. I didn't.
And it gets deeper. So the logo of the World Trade Center has 3 pillars up top. And the angle of those pillars, they are 17.76 degrees, which is...
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, the 1776. So it's like, what the heck?
That's so cool.
They really put thought into this. I mean, you have to, right? It's such a big thing. But anyways, that's my fun fact of the week. Yeah, I thought that was so special.
Annik, I wanted to bring up one other thing. We have that new course coming out for forced labor.
Oh my God, it is up. Yes. Guys, we talked about this last time and it is up, and Renee is one instructor. Renee, can you tell us real quick who the other instructors are and what exactly it is?
We're going to have Sean Harwood, who's a former retired federal agent with Department of Homeland Security. He's an attaché in China implementing the Forced Labor Act out there. And Eric Hargraves, who's with Elliott and Davis. It's just a phenomenal amount of experience and background in forced labor, especially with the apparel industry. And so this is going to be interactive, workshop style and course instruction. So you're going to get the concepts and then be able to apply them in our workshop. So we're really looking forward to having this in August.
Like real life scenarios, right? Like
real life scenarios.
Yeah, that's awesome.
WRO and UFLPA detention scenarios.
Wow. I know. I'm so excited for that. You know, it's up on our website and we have it for August 21st and October 8th. I remember because I put them in. So, definitely go look at that. Sign up. I mean, it's kind of a once in a lifetime thing because, I mean, you should, once in a lifetime because there's nothing like it on the market. And they put a lot of care into this product. It took a long time to get the research done and, put all this stuff together. And I'm really excited for you guys. So Global Training Center, that's so awesome. And that will be all for today. Thank you guys for joining.
Have a great 4th of July and Canada Day.
Everybody have a safe holiday.
All right. Have a great one. Bye.
Thank you very much for joining us. Simply Trade is brought to you by the generous contributions of Global Training Center. You can follow the show and GTC on LinkedIn or Twitter and other social networks. Make sure you check out the show notes in the description for a full rundown of today's show with all the important links. Also, make sure that you share this with a friend and subscribe on your favorite streaming platform. We really like hearing from you. If you enjoyed the show, make sure to rate and review wherever you listen to this podcast. If you or someone you know would like to be a guest in the show or would like to sponsor Simply Trade or suggest any topic you would like for us to discuss, please contact us via email at simplytrade@globaltrainingcenter.com or you can DM us on Twitter at simplytradepod. Thank you again for the privilege of your time. Happy trading. Simply Trade is not a law firm or an advisor. The topics and discussions conducted by Simply Trade hosts and guests should not be considered and is not intended to substitute legal advice. You should seek appropriate counsel for your own situations. These conversations and information are directed towards listeners in the United States for informational, educational, and entertainment purposes only and should not be substituted for legal advice. No listener or viewer of this podcast should act or refrain from acting on the basis of information on this podcast without first seeking legal advice from counsel. Information on this podcast may not be up to date depending on the time of publishing and the time of viewership. The content of this posting is provided as is. No representations are made that the content is error-free. The views expressed in or through this podcast are those of the individual speakers, not those of their respective employers or Global Training Center as a whole. All liability with respect to actions taken or not taken based on the contents of this podcast are hereby expressly disclaimed.